right, well, welcome to our graduate panel. You're going to hear from some of our best and brightest students, and I'm always so excited to meet them. To keep it short, because we only have 20 minutes, each time you speak, just say your first name. Oh, there they are. So say your name in case you don't look like your picture. And then try to keep things to like about a minute, or if it's a little bit longer, 2, and then I won't call on you again. Because if there's 2 times, how many of you? Yeah. We're going to be here 25 minutes at least. Okay, you ready? And then, audience, you are welcome to ask questions. I actually prefer that you ask questions, but I'm going to ask some just to get us started. And then you can have the mic in the audience? Okay. Oh, Ginny, yes. Thanks, Ginny. Okay. What seminar and challenge has been your favorite? You want to answer it with the mic in their hand down at the end there? Or who wants to do? AJ? Somebody's ready.
It's turn on. How many challenge students does it take to turn on a mic?
Yep.
That's a great question, actually.
Is it green?
Here, we'll trade.
Okay. So I would say that my favorite seminar is technically an unofficial one. It's called theology. This year, it would be tied to the reasoning strand. First semester, we went through a lot of the Old Testament, Invitation to the Psalms, and then C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity in class. And the reason I like it so much is that I get to hear from all of my fellow students and get input from all of their different denominational backgrounds. And so the conversations that we get to have further my knowledge and my faith. And so I've just really enjoyed that strand this year.
My favorite seminar and challenge was the debate strand. That encompassed a lot of things, and all of them caused lots of debates in my class. So starting this year, we did discoverers, and we debated like the impact of Christianity on the world. We also do team policy debate, which is a great experience. Mock trial, which is a favorite experience of many people. Even geography in Challenge A is under the debate strand because, believe it or not, the world is not set in stone and we can debate about boundaries all the time.
And does anybody else want to answer that one? I'll go on to the next question and give the audience time to warm up. A couple of you would be great to hear about. What plans do you have after CC, and how did CC prepare you for those plans?
So my name is Hall Matthews. I am attending Montana State University through the Honors College, and I was going to play sports. I thought that was going to be my plan. I think that's every high school boy's plan is when he goes through, but that fell through, so I really had to start looking through other things, and I really found my home up at Montana State. And I definitely feel prepared. I really wouldn't say that I feel scared or I'm worried or I don't think I can keep up. I'm really excited, and I made it in the Honors College. I definitely got some sizable scholarships, so that's my plan.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so I'm kind of doing the exact opposite of him. I really want to go into freelance photography, specifically weddings, and kind of create that own business for myself. So I plan on doing a gap year this year, just trying to figure all of that out. And to answer the second part of the question, how CC has prepared me for that, as I reflect on that question and my years in CC, the thing that I always go back to is having the skills of knowing how to think. Whether that's in any circumstance, like it can be the most simplest of situations, but CC has taught me to think methodically about everything and to discern and to really evaluate each situation carefully so that you know you can pick out the truths and you can pick out the untruths from every situation. So I feel prepared knowing that I can think through things even if I don't know what's going to happen.
Hello, my name is Nora Jane, and I'm planning to attend Berry College this fall and study animal science. And I think CC has prepared me for that 2 ways. First, academically, it just gave me a really strong foundation to prepare me for the rigors of college coursework, and it gave me study skills. And then secondly, I think it's given me a really good spiritual foundation to be able to defend my faith to others or share it with others through all of the things we've studied and all of the discussions we've had.
Okay, and then my third question is, your senior thesis. Can you tell us what your thesis was about, and also maybe tell the audience what a senior thesis even is? And then why was that your thesis?
All right, hi, I'm Emma Tomlinson, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my thesis. So first of all, a thesis your senior year is extremely important, and it's like the main aspect of Challenge 4 is getting together your idea, and then you kind of have to defend it when different people come across and they ask you questions. So the thesis that I picked was Synesthesia Advances Perspective. Now this term is really big, but what it really means is adjoined senses forming as one sense, and how understanding what that is or what that concept is can advance your perspective of the world. So I really dove into the term in my thesis and expounded on it. And the reason I actually picked that thesis is I have synesthesia, and I found most of the world doesn't even know what that is or what the term is. So explaining it, defining it, and then having people question me on it helped me understand how my brain worked and how to show other people how their brains could work too. So
That's really interesting to me because one of my first, or actually our very first challenge graduate had synesthesia, but she didn't find out until she was in college. And it just like changed her life knowing why she didn't see the world the way the rest of us do. So for instance, a simple example is that when we hear a sound, she would hear a sound and see color. So her senses were constantly being bombarded, and it exhausted her. So I hope you don't have, that's what you have? Yeah, so that's the thing with classical conversations. People ask me all the time about people with learning disabilities, and generally they mean learning weaknesses, but there's people who have learning strengths, like synesthesia. That's also a problem they have to deal with and learn to cope with. So thanks for doing that.
Hi, I'm Paige Klippinger, and my senior thesis is kind of long. My senior thesis was individuals should be encouraged to research the dangers of diseases, the precautions of vaccines, and be encouraged to live healthier lifestyles through eating healthy, exercising, and maintaining good hygiene. This fall, I'm attending nursing school at Cedarville University, so this was kind of a launch pad into the medical field, and it helped encourage me, and it really was a combining of everything that I have learned. The senior thesis is really the end goal for a classical conversations student. I've been in all the way since Abecedarians, and so this has been the combining of everything that I've learned over the years, from singing those little songs in science to using my skills from A to learn how to write a paper and defend what I believe well. And so my senior thesis focused around encouraging others to think critically and honor God in all they do, and that's something that CC is all about, and so it was really fun to dig deeper into that.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Noah Solano, and my senior thesis was on why chess should be a part of every person or child's education. The reason I chose this was because my mom first came up with the idea of it to me, and I enjoy playing chess, so that's why.
So we have a crazy world that is getting crazier, along with our government, which used to be a government of a free nation and is now growing slowly more tyrannical. My senior thesis was titled On the Right and Duty of Christian American Civil Disobedience. And this has been a personal issue for me and my family over the last 2 years. My dad's been in the military and has received several unlawful mandates, which he has defied. But the way I attacked the issue was that we are citizens of two different kingdoms, first of the heavenly kingdom and second of the United States of America. And the big question is, as citizens of two different dominions, to which do we owe our first allegiance? And this seems like a very easy question to answer. As Christians, we're all like, well, the Lord Jesus Christ, obviously. But yet, the Lord also told us to submit to the authorities. And so it's a It's a controversial issue, and I decided to tackle it from the biblical and the civil perspective. And we examined two passages that people quote often for to be subject to the authorities. Looked at that in the full scriptural context with going through and how the authors of those both, we have numerous examples of them committing civil disobedience in the Bible and in the Old Testament, New Testament, even Jesus himself. And then from the civil perspective, looking at the Constitution, the Declaration, seeing the role of our government as our servant, and we do not owe our allegiance to it, but it owes its allegiance to us. And also looking at how the Constitution fully upholds our right to practice religion, and thus true civil law and divine law will never cross. And so we can always follow God despite what the authorities say, because if there are any authorities, which our authority is the Constitution in America, by the way, but these people that we call authorities, if they tell us to go against the Bible, that's nullified by the Constitution, so it's no real authority at all. And so that was my senior thesis, but just basically that we can always obey God because we are citizens of a heavenly kingdom, and we are really only citizens of a heavenly kingdom. That is our first allegiance.
Homeschooling is all about revolution. Anybody else for this question? Okay, so I want to ask a question and start with Samuel to give the rest of you guys time to think about it, and then we'll go to our audience. I'd like to know about an either employment or service opportunity you had in your high school years so that the folks can see that you've been doing much more than just academics and that you are out in the community too. And I know Samuel has a job, so I thought I'd start with him and then you guys could, think.
So in high school, when I moved down here from Ohio, I actually started working at the NAV, which I'm sure most of you know about because you dropped your kids off there and I checked most of them in. And but from there, during the summer it's very busy, but during the off season, which would be winter and spring during the school year, it's not super busy. And that's when I actually got an opportunity from Leigh to come and work for her at Math Maps. And Math Maps is the math curriculum that we're working on to try and integrate it into CC in order to help children with math. And just by working through that, I've found it's so much better because I've always gone through it in Saxon. And Saxon is good and it's great, but it doesn't teach you everything. And I found that even just working there, my math literacy has gone up so much, and just the way that we are teaching the math is going to be from the first level all the way up. You learn the same things as your older siblings. Thank you. As your older siblings. And so it's not like you're going to be forgetting the things that you learned when you were in first grade all the way to 12th grade. You're going to be learning the same things through all those grades, and it's just, I think, an amazing opportunity for children to learn math the right way.
Well, that was nice. Okay, Eleanor, I'm going to let you just pass the microphone and then you can pass it. And start here.
Okay, so other than doing school, I was pretty busy. I worked as a lifeguard in the summers a lot, and then during the school year, I volunteered a lot at a therapeutic riding facility because I ride horses, and so I wanted to share that with other people who had disabilities. And so I got to volunteer. I would lead the horses around, and it was for kids with physical disabilities or mental disabilities, and so they would get to come and ride the horses and have fun with that, just like how I do, and that was really special to me.
So throughout high school, I really found a love of photography. And so my employment opportunity that I found was really creating my own business. So I have my own photography business that has grown exponentially. Many senior photos, portraits, family photos, weddings, I mean, you name it. And I've done it, hired by high schools to go do proms and to do sports. I mean, that's really where I found my employment, and CC has given me that special ability to change my schedule how I need so that I can have the best of both worlds. I can still get a good education while focusing on my entrepreneurial endeavors. So it's been a very, very helpful balance.
My employment is similar to that. I will echo Hall's point that CC gives challenge students a lot of flexibility in their schoolwork. This past fall, I started working part-time for a Christian general contractor in northern Kentucky, and I was able to take an entire day out of my school week and just work a 10-hour shift. And so without CC, if I was doing public school, I would not have had that opportunity, and so I've really been grateful for the opportunity for that, all that I've been able to learn, and how that is preparing me to go to trade school in the future. So.
And AJ is an Eagle Scout, too.
Close.
Close? Almost? Trail Life.
Trail Life, Freedom Award, same difference.
It's not the same difference. Thank you, Trail Life.
There's a booth out in the hallway. I'm sure they'll talk to you.
It just came out wrong. I should know. I sent him a check. Anybody else?
So I've had the opportunity to work with a friend, actually another challenge student classmate that has a lawn care business over the last few years, and he lives in one of those big neighborhoods with fancy houses and nice little lawns, and so we have a lot of fun doing that. And then I've also started up a small David and Goliath shepherd sling business that's been fun. I craft those and sell them at markets and such. And looking at starting up a couple maybe small businesses over the summer, growing my sling business, doing a trap-in business and some stuff like that. So, prospects.
I cut grass.
All right, so, you're good. Tell us.
Oh, I can go real quick. I just wanted to say I work at Chick-fil-A, so really go work at Chick-fil-A. Woohoo! Also, I'm just so thankful for my education and classical conversations, not only for the flexibility, but also throughout the challenge, each year is focused on a different aspect, and leading up to Challenge 4, where ultimately the goal is to become a leader. And so through my education, I have learned to become a good leader, and I am now in a position of leadership at my Chick-fil-A. So it's been really cool to see how Classical Conversations has prepared me to be able to be open-minded and be able to not only lead well, but to appreciate the people who I work with and be a good leader. I don't know what else to say. So, yeah.
I can go, yeah. Yeah, sure. Might as well just all say. So I currently am actually a working intern at an interior design firm. And so I work with a team in the Philippines that works on different samples, see if it works for the home, the color coordination. I go to construction sites and I meet with the carpenters and the other people working, and I work firsthand with the designers as well. And it's been a great opportunity, and it is like an 8 to 6 job on certain days. And there is no way I could do that if I was in public school, obviously. But secondly, to even get the job or to get that opportunity to have the right speaking skills is important, which is something I get from CC. And secondly, like organization skills, you take the time to plan out your schedule in CC. And when you're working a job like an interior design intern, there's only 2 or 3 other people on the team, and then that team in the Philippines. So I have to learn how to communicate with the people in the Philippines, as well as making sure the schedule's all organized for my boss, an example. So it's just been a great experience to see how CC really coordinates with that, and it's been a great opportunity.
Okay, thank you. All right, parents, somebody got a question? Anybody?
Don't be shy.
Right here. We got 2.
Okay. All right. Hi, I am a first-year homeschooler, and I have 2 boys. I'm going to cry. All right. You're not crying? All right. All right. So I have 2 boys. One's in college already, and one's in high school. He's a junior. He's playing baseball right now at Calvert Hall in Maryland. And I have 5 more at home. And Okay, so my 12-year-old, my 10-year-old. So I want to hear from you guys. Like, have you ever actually hated homeschooling? Like, you push back on your parents. They tell you you're the worst. Can't believe you're doing this to me. You took me from my friends. Like, and what has helped? And do you love your siblings? Do you hate them? Do you still talk to your parents?
That's a real question.
Okay, so I'm going to answer as many questions as I can remember. Memory is real tough. So I am the oldest of 4 siblings, or I guess I have 3 younger siblings. And I do love my siblings a lot because the amount of time that I'm actually in my home surrounded by my siblings compared to all my buddies and their younger siblings is totally different. I mean, every morning I wake up and I see my siblings, right? And most high school kids with younger siblings, they don't have that opportunity, right? And if they go to school with their siblings, sure, they see them passing in the halls, but they don't have classes together. It's not how it works, right? So, and the relationship that I've been able to build, especially with my 12-year-old brother, I mean, him and I are completely different people. He can sit down and read a book 3 times over, and you give me a pamphlet, and I'm like, just tell me what it says. I don't really want to read it, right? And so, but the fact that we're together so often forces us to find that common ground, right? It forces us to find where we connect, right? And so as I grow up, I'm almost confident that I'm going to be best friends with my siblings, even as they're 7, 9, and 12, right? And my little sister who's 9, she's like one of my best friends. Like, she's wonderful. And and then the other question that I remember is, did you ever hate homeschooling? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would definitely say when I was in middle school, and I think I hit a couple times sophomore year and freshman year where I was like, no, I'm done. Not happening. No way. Because for me, having that high school experience was really important. I didn't want to be an outcast. I didn't want to be the weirdo. Who's going to listen to you, right? So, but I'm here to say that you can have a wonderful high school career even if you're homeschooled. You really can. You really can. And, you know, for me, I mean, I did everything just like a normal high schooler. I was on varsity sports. I was a starter. You know, I went to proms. I went to homecomings. I mean, I had a regular high school career, and I've got buddies. I've got best friends that aren't homeschooled. I'm rooming with my best friend from Fort Collins, Colorado, up at Montana State. I mean, you absolutely hate it, but if you didn't hate it, I don't think you could love it as much. So, gives you the contrast.
Hi, I'm the youngest of 4, and to give you the other perspective is I do love my siblings, and they have helped me so much through my CC career. Yes, my mother is my tutor, but also my brothers and sisters went through it firsthand. And just having the ability to have them come back and even just check my papers when I started Challenge A and B, or just to help me through even my thesis. They all read it and they all gave me great feedback. And I've seen through Boy Scouts how different it can be with all the public schoolers, and how there would be siblings there, but I didn't know there were siblings until I got to know them because they didn't talk to each other. They didn't even, you know, like hug or anything like that. And it's just so different from homeschoolers and public schoolers, the true love you have with your family. Because you learn to love your family when you hate them. And you learn to love your brothers when you get in fights. And when you get older, you learn to appreciate those memories you had with them and all the times that they tried to help you and you thought they were trying to hurt you, but that they did help.
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes when people imagine homeschooling, they think like sunshine and rainbows and everybody sitting perfectly at the kitchen table doing their schoolwork together. But I'm gonna be honest, most days it doesn't look like that, and there's days when people are screaming and crying and nobody wants to be there. I mean, it happens, and I think there needs to be grace for people on those days when it's not going well, because it's not gonna go well every day. And that happens in every single family. And there's no family that's going to be perfect all the time. But I think those days make it so much more special when it does click for everyone. And when you have that student that's really struggling with something and it finally clicks, or that student that's like arguing with their siblings and one day they're just really nice and they all get along. So there just has to be grace on those days when it's really hard, because that's going to happen for every family.
You need to remember that the very best camping trips are the one where the canoe got tipped. All right, any other?
Good morning. My name is Alan Abalada. First of all, I appreciate all the graduates for being up there. I don't think as a high school graduate I would have had the courage to be even up there. So I appreciate that. And
We can't hear him. Is the mic on?
You're on. Good. Yeah. Sorry. So first of all, I appreciate all the graduates being up there and answering our questions and being truthful. And I don't think that as a high school student, a high school graduate would have had the courage to do what you're doing right now. Second, I want to ask about your fathers. Okay? I'm a father of 6 children, a beautiful wife, happily married, and she tutors and she does the legwork of homeschooling. And my oldest is 11, and I have 7 years before he goes off to whatever God has him doing. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I get involved in this? Because I'm in the military, I'm very busy. And in the military, it's always the mission first. And mission most of the time means it's not your family. But my family is a no-fail mission. I want to get involved as much as I can. A lot of it is I'm intimidated about what I have to know because I'm not classically trained. I'm a product of the California school system, and I wouldn't advertise it to anybody. And what you missed out from your high school experience is a lot of nonsense and drama. All right? So that's why we homeschool. But at the same time, I want to know what you actually know, and that's from a 41-year-old man. And I want to be able to connect with my kids so we can converse in the same language and be able to talk about the things that they're learning, because I don't know it. The only thing we do right now, at least with my oldest, is we play chess. So yeah, and we rock climb. So I'm trying to invest in my children's education, but I don't know what they're learning. So I don't have the foundation. I don't have the essentials. But the next step for my oldest is challenge, and that to me is intimidating. I'm sure it's intimidating him. It's intimidating me. So I want to ask about your fathers in particular. Like how did they get involved in your education? And what kind of advice would you give me as a father of 6, so that, hey, my dad did this, and this is how we connected, and it was great?
Yeah, I can answer this question. Yeah, so both my parents were public school, had no idea what homeschooling was, but they decided to go into it. My mom is the person who stays at home with us all day. Dad is off at work, but he is so much a part of our homeschooling, just as much as our parents, my mom. And the reason why is because every day he comes home, he'll ask us about what we learned and the conversations that we've had. I've learned so much. You can read a book by yourself, but it's when you talk to people and have conversations that it really comes out. That's true in your class, but when you have it with your parents, it's especially important. And when it's with your father, who's away and comes home just to talk to you, it means so much more. And I think the fact that you don't know anything about CC, that's actually a good thing, because it means that you have more questions. You don't know what this student read, so you can ask the student, so, hey, what happened in this book? Why did the character do that? Help me understand. And then the student has the opportunity to teach you, which helps them learn. And it definitely brings you closer together in relationship, because you understand each other's values and you learn from each other that more. So I would say, every evening you come home, be willing to have conversations with your kids about about the schoolwork.
Yeah, so I would say that for what I've seen, my father's the most hardworking man that I've ever seen in my entire life. 60-hour plus work weeks, maybe he was in Alabama and he came back the same day and he still made it to dinner, right? I mean, every day my dad leaves the house around 4:30 a.m. and he doesn't come back until around 6 or 7 o'clock at night, right? I mean, he's extremely hardworking for my family. And I would say that even with his extremely busy schedule, the relationship I have with my father and the real personal connection I have with him, I have not seen in any of my buddies. I've never seen the relationship that I have with my father anywhere else. I really haven't. And the reason is, I would say, and I'm not a father, obviously, right? So I don't want to tell you how to do your job. So I'm not yet anyway. But I would say that the number one thing that he did right, because he's not homeschooled minded either. He grew up in Georgia, public schooled all the way through, just like you, right? But I would say the best thing that he ever did was the time that he did have that was free, when he was with me, he was totally focused on me, right? The limited slots of time that he had to focus on me, it was 100% dedicated to me. He was interested in me. Tell me what's going on. How's it going? Where are you in school? My mom said this. Is this true, right? So, but I would say the relationship I have with my father is spectacular, even with his busy schedule. And CC gives me that perfect opportunity so that when he's free, I can be free if I need to, right? If he's been gone for a week and a half, he's extremely busy. But now he's home, and he says he can go to Florida with me for 2 days. Can you go? Sure, I can go. Yeah, I can move my schedule around, and on Wednesday and a Thursday, I can take off, right? And I can have that connection. So that's why CC really worked for our family. So closing thoughts, I guess, is just when you do have that time with your kids, CC gives you the opportunity to make it a 100% connection on each side. And really, I mean, my dad is taking it harder that I'm going to college far away than my mom is. And it's I don't know, it makes me feel really happy about that.
So my dad is also in the military, but he actually was able to tutor my Challenge 4 class this year, which that was a lot of fun. There's 3 of us in the class, all of us firstborns, and the beauty of the CC education is that it's not just academic, nerd head science math stuff. And it's not just science and math with any education, but it's the conversation that flows through each strand and integrates. And you can bring in, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the rabbit trails that you run down in those kind of conversations. But they're not just rabbit trails. They're rabbit trails that reveal wisdom, life lessons, and all these great things. And as a father, as you come home and you talk with your kids about what they've learned that day, you don't just have to be like, oh, cool, so, you review their times tables with them or whatever. You can discuss about, in Challenge 4, we're doing Mere Christianity, and there's history and science and all these really interesting things that all relate back to God and the other strands. And as a father, you are in probably the primary position to infer knowledge to your children in that way and wisdom. And even if you think you may not know a lot of stuff about the academically what they're learning, you can enrich their learning with your advice and conversation. So I would just say talk to your children and share with them what you have to offer, which is a ton, as their father.
Oh, you're fine.
That's actually a really great question. My dad and our connection has always been education, but he didn't understand CC at all. So growing up, my relationship with my dad would be me coming into his office and telling him about what I learned in CC, from just a young kid in foundations even to challenge. I even did NCFCA, which some of you probably don't know what that is, but it's speech and debate, and he was my debate coach. and he would coach me in CC debate too, and he would just lead me in finding the right value in LD debate or in team policy, helping me understand the policy from his point of view and seeing his point of view from not classical education, and then him coming together with my point of view was just a beautiful connection and really a great foundation for our relationship. And my dad really is one of the closest people I have in my life. And what I'm hearing from you is that you're away a lot. And this might sound really personal to share, but this past year, my dad was actually put in federal prison. And I've been able to write to him and have phone calls about classical education. And he asks me questions about what I'm writing about, what I'm speaking about, what I'm learning. And we get 10-minute phone calls a few times a week, and that's what we talk about. That's our main connection, and that's why our relationship is so close. He's able to ask me those really deep questions that lead us to further truths and further foundations. We look for goodness, beauty, and truth, and we're able to find that through classical education and through our conversations. So even what I'm hearing is you're away from your family. I have never been closer to my dad than I have now, having these phone calls and having these times to talk about classical education. And remember this, that even though you're talking about something like school, it always goes much deeper when it comes to CC and those foundations of classical education. Finding truth, goodness, and beauty is something that I have learned throughout Challenge, and that's something my dad and I both always seek after in every single conversation that we have with one another. And so, even though he's been far away this year, this is the closest relationship I've ever had with my dad. And I just want to encourage you as a father that there is a way that you can have a tight, close relationship with your family through classical education if you're always seeking after truth. And that's your foundation, is to develop that close relationship with seeking after that goodness, truth, and beauty.
We talk about moms a lot, but can we give a big round of applause to CC dads for a minute?
I'm good friends with her dad, and I'm not surprised by anything she said. He can't wait to go home to be with his children. And so, that's the answer. Let them know how much you want to be with them, and do it. Okay, so I don't know what time we're supposed to end. Are we?
I've got a question over
We
here.
have time. We have time.
One more question?
We can probably get 3 more.
Okay.
3 more questions.
Hello. I first wanted to know, by show of hands, I guess, just out of my own curiosity, how many of you have been in classical conversations from foundations all the way through? Okay, that's cool. Thank you. Then the other question I have is, what advice do you wish you had received going into your challenge years?
Probably the biggest struggle for any challenge student is Latin. And the biggest thing that I would do is just let them know that it's going to be okay. That even if you don't know all of the note cards, that first year in Challenge A, it's the hardest for Latin because it's a new language and you're just understanding the basics of grammar. And from there, it actually can become some fun. Like in Challenge 4, we got to actually translate parts of the Bible, and that was probably the most fun I've had in a strand, is just taking the Bible and trying to translate it from one of its original texts into our current language, and just the intricacies of how that language works. And it's very interesting. And so the biggest advice I'd give is just to drill Latin. And even if it's horrible and you hate that hour that you're doing Latin, it will get better and that it will possibly become fun.
I would say don't give up. Always push as hard as you can, even if you don't necessarily want to. And most of all, don't procrastinate.
So for me, in Challenge, we have our challenge guides for each challenge grade. And I learned a little later than I probably should have that the guide, we are not slaves to the guide. And the beauty of CC is that it's flexible and that it's flexible for you around your life. And so I think what's important is not worrying about how much Latin or history or science you get done, but what you're getting from those subjects. I don't care if you translate one word, how much wisdom and truth have you gotten from that one word? And how much more do you know from that one little translation? So I would just say not relying so much on the guide, but your needs as a challenge student.
Yeah, I would agree with what she said, is that the guide can be flexible, and it's not about getting everything done, but it's about understanding the topics. And each person is going to have something unique to bring to community. So there may be one student that does Latin a little bit differently, and just because they're not doing it exactly how it looks in the guide doesn't mean they don't have something to contribute. And that's what's really beautiful about CC, is when we can come on community day and everybody brings something different to the table, is that you may look at it in a different way than I look at it, or I may understand this different, or with math we might have a little bit different ways of doing this problem, and just because you do it differently than me doesn't mean your way is wrong or my way is right, is that we both look at it differently, and we can come together and have a deeper understanding, because I look at it this way and you look at it that way, and together we can have one big picture understanding that we wouldn't have gotten individually.
I want to get another question, but I want to say, notice that they don't answer like the teacher does this, the tutor does that. You haven't heard them say that one time. It's their cohort of peers, and it's their parents and their siblings that you've heard about. Thank you. Okay, question?
My question is about the theme of Challenge A being ownership, and I love that, and I get to observe a lot of students, and it seems like they latch on to that at different places, even though it's introduced in Challenge A. They don't always all latch on to it, day one of seminar on Challenge A. And so I was wondering if there was like a Pentecost moment for each one of you that you said, and this was my defining moment where I decided this is my education, this isn't mom telling me what to do or how to do it, that kind of thing.
I can answer that question because I get so excited about this. My Pentecost moment was Challenge 1, mainly because that was when I got saved, and I gave my life to Christ. So, for that reason, Challenge 1 and having the theme of freedom really made me realize that's when I started taking charge of my own education and thinking, okay, this is mine. This is no one else's, but God has blessed me with CC. He's blessed me with this classical model that's so much better than anything else. And so it's time for me to take charge of it and take ownership of it. And I think that really, not everyone has that realization, but I think it comes with understanding who we are as humans and realizing that we are fallen, imperfect creatures, but that God is holy and that he is the perfect being. And so I don't know how to answer that, but that was my moment. I think it's just realizing what we have is so beautiful, and there's so much beauty in what we do, and you have to understand that this is the best, what you're going to get the best for your education.
So the theme of Challenge A is ownership. And I think one of the key things you could do in order to get your child to, you don't need to keep nagging them. It's not your job to keep nagging them. It's their job to do their schoolwork. So advice I would give to you is, to give to your children at least, is don't make excuses for your work or why you didn't do it. Excuses are a cheap way out of any situation. Oh, I forgot, I didn't have time this week. Well, they may not have time, but then they still didn't do their schoolwork and they're gonna have to do it later. So teach your child, don't make excuses for not doing what they should be doing, because that's disobedience. And I mean, they need to respect you and your authority over them. You are in charge of your children, and they need to understand that. So spank your children more if they don't get their schoolwork done. I probably should have gotten a few more spankings in my education. So yeah, that'd be my advice to you. I don't remember having a Pentecostal. I can't remember a time where that happened. I think it was instilled in me pretty young that my mom means business and I need to obey her, otherwise something bad's gonna happen to me. But yeah, my mom was always very kind and very loving in how she did it. So just be patient with your children and understand that this is hard for them too. It's a process of learning that's gonna take a very long time in order for it to be finished. So keep in mind that you have a long-term goal of setting up your child for success in the future. And just keep your eyes on the prize. It is a very long process. That's going to take a lot of patience, and you may cry a lot of tears during that. So just be ready to just walk the journey with them.
And also, one of the great things about just homeschooling and classical homeschooling in particular is with the all the assigned work each week, there are weeks where it's impossible to get it all done. And as a parent, you can grant, they call it tailoring, where you can say, okay, well, you can skip out on your Latin translations this week, or you can maybe read this, but you don't have to write this paper type stuff. But that still requires your child to come to you and be like, hey, I've got this problem. I'm trying to work it with my schedule, and it just won't work. Will you please grant me this amnesty or whatever? But that still builds, even though they may be getting out of that work, it still teaches them responsibility of dealing with it themselves, and that's going to build skills for later in their life as well. So.
I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we're good.
We can give Robert at least a few minutes later today.
Yeah. Hey, can we give it up for him? Yeah. Wasn't this super encouraging? Guys, stand up. You can stand up. All right.